Hello guys, you are with the Tech Science. Today we have to discuss a new point. It is based on the Newton's law, and these Newton's law is concerned with the motion. For example, Newton's first law of motion, second law and the third law. So here the Newton's first law of motion is also called as the law of inertia. This is what the another name for the Newton's law of motion. Let us start with the basic things like first of all, you must know what is inertia first. Why it is called law of inertia? What exactly the property inertia means exactly? So you have to discuss with these things. Inertia is concerned with, for example, before directly start with the inertia point, I will give you a very simple example. Suppose there is a football. Observe, you have the football and you are kicking this football. Now imagine if you are kicking the football, how much force you have to apply this. And after kicking the football, of course, it is move in a forward direction. And another having another object same size as just like a football. For example, it is a ball of ball which is made up of an iron, and this is generally a football. Both having same size. And if you are kicking this both object with the same force, what happen here? Of course, the football get move in a forward direction, but iron no. There is no any kind of not a single slight movement if you found in case of an iron. If you are kicking the iron ball which having the same size as a football with a same force. Why does this so happen? Why the football get moved but not the iron ball? Why? Because the inertia of iron, because of the inertia of iron is more than inertia of the football, and because of this, although the force is same, but the football get moved, there is a movement in a football but not in iron. What does this mean? It means that inertia is general property of an object which is present in any object to resist or to oppose the state. Suppose an object is there and that object, suppose it is in motion. So if you have to stop that object, of course the object which is in motion, it resists to you if you want to stop it. If you have to stop that object. If object is already at the rest position and if you have to move that object, it may be a chair, it may be a table. Of course, some kind of force, a reaction force that has been applied by that object because of the inertia, and because of that inertia it resists you because that you should not be able to move that object. That is different thing. If you apply a more force, that having a term, it is called unbalanced force, then this chair get moved or that table get moved. So what does this mean? It means that every object has its internal property called as the inertia, and that inertia generally opposes you if you have to change the state of an object. In the same manner, observe number of things are there in our day to life. Now question arises that the inertia of football, inertia of an iron, inertia of a chair, inertia of a car, is it same? The answer is of course no. Why? Because if you observe, the inertia is directly concerned with the mass of an object. Observe, what about the mass of the football? Can you imagine, can you guess what is the mass of an iron? Can you guess what is the mass of a car compared to a chair, etc.? So what you found? If you found that if you have to kick a football, how much force you are applying? You have to apply some kind of more force because for the iron ball, because of the more inertia. Why more inertia? Because the iron having the more mass, and if there is a more mass, of course there is a more inertia. And this is what the thing. And this inertia opposes if you have to change the state of an object, and this inertia is concerned with the Newton's first law of motion. How? Observe. Suppose, of course, now just I told you what kind of answer you have. If you have to move the football, what you have to apply? You have to apply some kind of force. If you have to kick this iron ball, what you have to apply? Of course, the answer is you have to apply some kind of force, although the force is more than the football as compared to iron. Now question is what kind of force you have to apply. Now I am expecting the answers in terms of balance and unbalanced force. Now question is what you have the force called balance and what is called as the unbalanced force. Suppose you are trying to move this wall. Observe, this is the wall. If you are trying to this board is situated on the wall, I want to move this wall. What happened here? How much force I am applying on this wall, the same force will be applied by the wall on me also. And because of this, what happened here? The net force is equal to 0, and such kind of force is called balanced force. and because of this balanced force, the net result is 0. Example, during tug of war, you have the two kinds of like opposite teams are there, and if they two teams A and B, they are pulling the like you can observe like that tag is there, okay, so that string is there, and if you are pulling in that rope is there, of course rope is there, so that rope is moving. If they are pulling with the same force, how much force applied by the team A, same force applied by the team B, what happened here? Of course the net result is 0. Why? The answer is what? They are applying the balanced force, and whenever there is a balanced force, of course the net result is 0, and there is no any kind of result you got, because the match get tied. And if someone apply the more force during the tug of war, if you have to pull the rope, and team A apply the more force as compared to team B, and team B requires some kind of like they apply some kind of less force as compared to team A. Now what happened here? The rope, it get pulled towards the team A because they apply a more force than B, and here the term is called unbalanced force. This term is called as the unbalanced force. What does this mean? Now this unbalanced force having the concern with the Newton's law of motion. Why? Observe, an object is there, and the object is right now at the rest position. Now you have to change the state of an object. You have to move that object as it is in the rest position. Now that object also opposes you. Why? Because that object having the inertia. Am I right? That object having the inertia. Just now we discussed what is inertia exactly. Now suppose that object you want to move. So what kind of force you have to apply? You have to apply the unbalanced force. Means your force must be greater than the how much inertia that object have. How much force that object opposes you to change the state. If your force is greater, if your force is more than that, now what happened here? Now the object changed its state. Means object will not easily like allow you to change the state because of the inertia. So you have to apply the force. So what kind of force is there? Now the answer is more clear. You have to apply the unbalanced force. We have to apply the unbalanced force. Now the object is now changed the state from rest to motion. Suppose already object is in motion in a straight line. For example, I throw ball towards you. Now you have to apply, you have to stop that ball. Now what happened here? Of course, again you have to apply the force. Why? Because the object is already in motion. And if object already is motion, in that case, if there is no any kind of external force is there on that object, the object is always in the motion. Of course, for example, if you are riding a bicycle, now what happened here? If you stop the pedaling, after some time, the cycle gets still, it is in motion, and after some time it gets stopped. Why? Because a kind of frictional force is there in between the tire and the road, and this frictional force is responsible to stop the bicycle. Suppose I told you already that there is no any kind of external force is there on that object. In that case, of course, the object which is in motion, it is always in motion. If there is no any kind of external force is there on that object. Now if you have to stop that object, so what you have to apply? Of course force. What kind of force? Again the answer is unbalanced force you have to apply. So when you apply the unbalanced force, in that case only the object which is in motion, now it get rested because of the force, unbalanced force apply from your side. So this law will be stated by the law of Newton, and that is called the Newton's first law of motion, also called the law of inertia. So what is the statement of the Newton's first law of motion? Observe. Now just I told you, if the object is at the rest, if you have to change the state of the object, you have to apply the external unbalanced force. If the object is already in motion, you have to apply again the external unbalanced force on that if you have to stop that object. Means if you have to, in short, if you have to change the state of the object, you have to apply an external unbalanced force. This is only the statement. There is nothing new things are there. Observe. An object, this is what is this? This is the statement of Newton's first law of motion. An object continues to remain at rest or in a state of uniform motion along a straight line, Now this is what the state of the object. If object which is always having the habitual to stay in a rest, or if the object which is in a uniform motion, always that object wants to be in uniform motion. If you have to change both of this state, what should you do? These are always in this state unless if you are applying the external balance force, then and only then there is a change in the state. So this is the statement. So an object continues to remain at rest or in a state of uniform motion along a straight line unless an external unbalanced force acts on it. External unbalanced force acts on it. So this is what the statement of Newton's first law of motion. What is that? An object, it is always try to be continue at rest if it is in rest, or the object always trying to be in a uniform motion along a straight line. If these two cases are always true if there is no any kind of unbalanced force acts on it. But if and kind of force called as the unbalanced force acts on that object because of this external unbalanced force, now if the object is at the rest, now it is in motion, and if the object is in motion, now it turns into the rest state. If only if you are applying an external which kind of force? Unbalanced force. And this is already put forth a kind of statement in front of you by the Newton, and this statement is called as the Newton's first law of motion, also called as law of inertia. Now question is what? If the object is at the rest, why it opposes to you, opposes to someone, why the object does not want to change the state? Of course, a kind of like things are there inside, the properties there, and that property is called because of the inertia. And if you have to change, what you have to apply? External unbalanced force. So this is called the Newton's first law of motion. So this is what the first today's point. Tomorrow we discuss the Newton's second law of motion regarding the concept called as the momentum. Before that, if you like the video, please subscribe my channel and press on the bell icon for the new notification. Thank you.